This is how to calculate your baseline calorie requirements, which you're going to need for whatever weight loss calorie plan that you're going to be using. Let's be honest, there are tons of diet options out there, and some of them can get pretty complicated. But whether you're talking about Sinclair's longevity 1 meal a day diet or some bodybuilders 6 to 8 meals a day diet, they all have 3 basic components. The first item is what to eat, and I do believe that it is important to think about what you're putting into your body. I'm going to cover what I include or exclude in my current eating plan in a future video. The next one is when to eat, and I also feel that this is important depending on what your activity level is. If you don't do anything during the day, it's going to be a lot less impactful. But if you're a bodybuilder and you're trying to get the most benefit from your workouts and feed the body at the right times, then when you eat is going to be vastly important as well. The third component is how much to eat. And as loosely proven with the Twinkie diet, the number one component up on this board for weight loss is how much you eat, how many calories you take in on any given day. Now, almost any weight loss diet or eating plan is going to require that you start with your baseline calorie requirements, which is simply a number of calories that's required for you to eat in a day to maintain your current body weight. Using simple math, let's say your BCR is 2,000 calories. If you eat 1,800 calories a day, you're going to lose weight, period. In this example, we would be in a minus 200 calorie deficit to get those 1,800 calories. But before you can start any kind of program like this, you have to know what is your BCR. Now, there are plenty of online calculators to tell you what your BCR is. And if I just go to one like the Garnet Health one and I pull it up, I plug in my age, my height, and my weight at the beginning of the calculation period I used, which was 210 pounds at 6'1" and 50 years old. And knowing at that time I was lifting 7 days a week and swim, hike, paddleboard, something else roughly 4 times a week. And that makes 11 times a week. So looking at this calculator, I'm going to use 3,546 calories per day as an online reference, even though I actually work out more than what it says in a week. We all know that online tools are based on the average person. Now, I know I'm not average. I don't know if anybody is really technically average. So I didn't want to leave that kind of tolerance out there. I wanted to go through the effort to calculate what is my actual BCR based on what I'm doing today as I am. Doesn't really matter what the age is, height, whatever. For me, math is math. I need to figure out my calorie requirements. Now, I'm an engineer, so I like Excel. If you don't have Excel, you might try to find somebody that does. You can do the math by hand, but when it gets into the calculation for the trend line, that's a lot more math than I want to do without a tool like Excel. But you can still do it by hand and lay it out on a chart, or maybe you have some other kind of a spreadsheet tool that you have access to that you can use to do this math. Now, I started with this sheet and I entered my weight each morning as soon as I hit the head and before I took so much as my magnesium pill for the day. So it was very consistent, and consistency is key for this exercise. So staying close to the same basic meals every day, the same workout routine, same sleep schedule, timing, all that is going to be very important. What I'm saying is don't do this calculation over a period where you are on vacation. Because if you're laying in the sand, drinking Coronas all day and eating the buffet at night, you're probably not going to be representing your normal routine. There are many tools for tracking calories. I like to use the Samsung app because it matches my phone and my watch and they talk together. So you need some kind of method, even by hand again, if you want to track how many calories you eat each day. Now, you have to think through this. My weight this morning is not affected by the calories I eat today. It's a result of the calories I ate yesterday. So in addition to the 2 rows I had for my calories and my weight in the morning, I added these other 2 rows for how much my weight had changed from the day before and how many calories I'd eaten the day before. That way the data matches the data so that I know that an intake of X amount of calories resulted in that delta of my weight. Once I had the data tracking figured out, I kept track of everything for 4 weeks. And it was exactly 4 weeks so that it wasn't biased with more weekdays or more weekends, because people tend to splurge and slip a little bit more on the weekends sometime. And with those 4 weeks of data, I inserted a scatter plot in Excel for this graph. And you can see over the course of the month, I did have some variance. I was as low as 1,500 calories and up over 3,500 some days. So it wasn't as consistent as it would have been nice to have, but overall it was fairly consistent behavior. Then I inserted a trend line for the data, which you can see right here. And the number we're looking for in this trend line is the 2640 calories, which is what we call the y-intercept. And I apologize if this is giving everybody flashbacks from high school algebra, but it's just what we have to do. Fortunately, you don't have to think, let Excel do the thinking for you. This number, 2640, is the baseline calorie number. Now, a few final considerations. Remember, we said that mine was calculated at 2640, right? But the online showed that it was 3546. This is exactly why I wanted to calculate my own BCR, because I didn't trust that the online calculator was going to be accurate enough. And you can see if I would have been eating over 3,500 calories a day, I would definitely not be in the shape I am today. Now, do you need a full month of data? Not necessarily. The basics of it are the more consistent you are with your behaviors, the less data you're actually going to need, and the more data that you get, the more accurate your numbers will be. The other thing to consider is, let's say I start with 2,640 calories and I do a 200 calorie deficit, and that gives me 2,440 calories per day as a target. So that's my BCR, my deficit, and my target. Now, if I do this, eventually I'm going to plateau. Why is that? Because 2,640 calories is what it took to maintain 210 pounds, right? As I lose weight, I'm going to require less of a BCR. It's going to go down over time. So 2,440 calories, if I do the math in here, that's what's required to maintain 194 pounds. So again, as I lose weight, I'm requiring less of a BCR, which means I need to continue to drop my calories. Now, do you have to do this elaborate month of data tracking every time? No, you don't want to interrupt your progress. But what you can do is take your body weight as a proportion to your BCR. So if your BCR, there's some ratio between your BCR and your body weight, right? So if I have 2640 for 210 pounds, and that's going to be the same ratio as 2440 to 194 pounds. So how do you handle it when you do lose weight? Do you have to go through and repeat this massive 1 month of data tracking and calculation again? No, you don't actually have to do that. As long as your exercise or activity level stays the same, then you can use this ratio for recalculating. So let's take an example where, let's say I was weighing 210 pounds, these are my numbers, and I go down to 200 pounds. Great, I lost weight. So now I use the same BCR to body weight ratio, and I make another one and I put 200 pounds out there, and the same ratio applies, right? So I take 200 over 210. What is that ratio? And I take that times the 2640, and you want to use your BCR in this case, not the target, or it'll screw it up. So take 200 over 210 times 2640, and let Excel do the math. That equals 2514 calories for a new BCR at 200 pounds. So then, to go back and figure out your new target for the day, take this out, change that to 2514, And then we minus 200 for our deficit or whatever your program is, and we get 2314 in this example. So now I'm down to 200 pounds. 2314 is my new target calories. I know the math can be a little bit intimidating if you're not used to it. If you don't have access to Excel, find an engineer, find somebody to help you through it and get through the math. The point is to get healthier, and the math is just a means to an end in this case. Since I've been getting this question a lot from the other health videos I've been posting, now that we have the baseline calculation for our calories, the next video will be focused on the current eating plan that I follow. So it's going to be, again, the same things: what I eat, when I eat it, and how much of it I eat. So I'm going to lay that out in a lot more detail. It's something that I've found that works really well for me, so I wanted to share that with you as well. If you haven't done so, please click on the link below to subscribe, click the little bell for notifications, check out the YCC merch store, see if there's anything you like, and let's live for today.